EquityTV. There it is. Howdy, everybody. I'm Francis Mayer, and this is Equity TV. Equity TV is a product of Bakersfield College. And what we do here at Equity TV is we tell success stories, and we give tips and tricks for navigating the waters of higher education because, as I've found, and many others have found, it's a place where you can improve your life. Now, today we're going to be addressing a very important and special part of our population, and that is our veterans. They spend some of the most productive years of their life doing the most dangerous work on earth. And then when they come back, they've got to find something new to do. And a lot of times that starts at Bakersfield College. The first person we're going to speak to this morning is a guy who was a real-life A-teamer. If you're too young to know what that is, you best get on the internet and figure it out. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning.
And your name is?
Joe Dullard.
That's right. And you work with the Wounded Warriors, correct?
The Wounded Heroes Fund.
Sorry,
Yep.
yes.
That's all right. Wounded Warrior Project's a national project.
Okay, very good.
Wounded Heroes Fund, we exist only in Kern County to assist Kern County veterans of post 9/11.
And, you know, granted, I don't live anyplace else, and I am very Bakersfield-centric, but I feel like we look out for our vets here.
Yeah, I think we do. I'm not originally from Kern County.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm originally from Lodi, but I spent the last 20 years or so on the East Coast, mostly in North Carolina. And I can say that of the places I've been, Kern County is, I think, second to none in how they care for their veterans. Very patriotic place. We have something like 50,000, give or take a few thousand, veterans in our county.
A lot of heroes.
Yeah, a lot of folks that have served, a lot of folks that know what it means to leave mom, dad, mama, go take care of business and come back home.
Well, and that's something you did. And in my media career, I have stumbled across a lot of people, very unfortunately, who maybe misrepresented their time in the military. And you can always tell because they are very eager to tell you, oh yeah, Special Forces, 5th Airborne Division. And they want to tell you about, you know, people they've wasted or these very horrible, gauche things. But I talked to you, and I got to tell you, getting your military history out of you is a little bit like pulling teeth. You're not a braggart. So that makes me feel like, I mean, and I believe you 100%, but you were the real deal. You were in combat situations.
Well, you know, the reality is for a number of years, I didn't even discuss. Of course, I lived in a military town for a number of years after I was out of the military, and I just never discussed my military career history. When I left, and I found that I was able to open up more about it, not because I was scared or I had bad memories or anything like that. It's just that, I don't know, it was what it was, and you're right. There's a lot of stolen valor. We call them stolen valor out there.
Which, by the way, is shameful. Don't do that. Find your own honor. There's other ways besides being a soldier to get positive attention for yourself. Volunteer at the homeless shelter, be a big brother, work with children, but for crying out loud, don't do that.
Right, and so I come across probably one a week.
How do you deal with it?
So, you know, for the most part, I think it's folks that are either there's something a little bit wrong with them mentally. It's someone that's, you know, really looking to get some sort of recognition or notoriety that maybe they don't have or don't have the fulfillment in their job or their family. You know, so for the most part, there have been one or two cases actually in the last couple months where it got to me enough that I was able to, I had to say something to them. But I know a lot of guys that I work with, you know, they catch a whiff of it first scent. And
you're taking your life into your own hands. Yeah. And just to clarify, if you go on YouTube and you want to watch something besides Equity TV by Bakersfield College, look up these videos, the Stolen Valor. There's a guy who was actually a Navy SEAL who calls these people on the phone, and they're like used car salesmen and stuff, or they're using this stuff to pick up on women. Sure. And basically, they're guys who don't have any military service, or if they do, it was in a support role. And we don't want to diminish that at all because it takes all kinds to make up a modern military force.
And that's what I don't get. I was for half my military career, I was in airborne units, and we have a saying when you're rigging up your parachute, if you rig it, you ride it, right?
Sure.
So, if you're a veteran, you have military service. If you rigged it, ride it. Be proud of what you did. Not everybody is a Delta super secret squirrel sniper Marine recon. But I'll tell you this, though, 9 out of 10 people that I meet on the street, they have a story of a family member who's some secret sniper Delta squirrel. And so apparently there's nobody else in the military out there. It's just all these guys.
Yeah,
but anyway.
We used to talk about that. And it's the same with any industry. Like here I am. I get to be in front of the camera, but if it weren't for Chris McCullough, John Farron, Louis Amestoy, and everybody else, I couldn't do this.
Right.
So it does take support, and that is just a wild and strange thing that people are doing. And the fact is we have heroes who are coming back, real heroes, and they need help. I imagine, and you and I were talking before we came on the air, that there's an adjustment period, and you are telling me what you did, and you were part of a small. I'm going to toot your horn for you. It sounds like a pretty elite squad of guys who went into hairy situations, and you would have 2 medics. You were the communications guy. You have 2 weapons guys, and then you had a squad leader,
right,
if you will. And just to drive home that point, folks, there were 2 medics for a squad of 5 guys. I mean, that right there speaks to the inherent danger of what you're doing, right?
Well, there were typically about 12 guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 12 guys. Full team would be 12 guys. So, yes, I was on an operational detachment alpha and I'll probably get a bunch of calls, people calling and checking up on me after this, and that's
Good.
okay. Yeah, call me. I started out as an MP, actually, in the National Guard is where I started.
Did you know that it was going to go? Did you dream when you were a child, like we all do, of being the hero and being that guy?
You know what? Yeah, as a child, as a kid, I grew up in grape vineyards and cherry orchards. Right? In Lodi. And they back then they still irrigated everything. And I remember crawling through those full irrigated ditches and low crawling, with a stick or a baseball bat, pretending it was a. Yeah. But that was back when like Delta Force was on, all the Chuck Norris movies and Mission Impossible, Delta Force, and I watched all those with my parents and. For a long time, that was just what I wanted to do. And then I never did it. I think actually I chickened out and didn't go to – I was planning on joining the Navy right out of high school, and I just chickened out. I thought, I don't want to go have somebody yelling at me during basic training and all that stuff.
Plus, you were 18. You knew everything. Why would you want to ruin that by going into the military?
So after I was married, actually.
Oh, wow.
I was looking for a way to finish school and pay for college. And I'll admit, my motivating factor for me joining the military was to pay for school. And that was in 1999. And I broke an ankle on the way. And I thought, well, I'm never going to go now. So I ended up going to basic training like a month or a year later.
Wow.
And then it was once I was there in basic training, I don't know, I just loved every bit of it.
Wow.
I remember doing things in the Army where they're just, smoking you and making you do push-ups, or they got you in mud pits or whatever. And I just remember having the thought that, man, they're paying me to do this. And there are people that are over there crying and they're hating it, but they were paying me like $1,400 to go do the stuff I did for free as a kid.
Well, and then you look now, and they have these mud runs, and they have these things called Tough Mudders, and essentially,
what do you pay, a couple $100 to enter into that?
To pretend you're in boot camp for a day, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But you learned a very unique skill set, a tremendously valuable skill set, and if Raiders stormed this building right now, I would be hiding behind you in your pink shirt because I know you'd get me out of here safely. But
you'd have to find me to hide behind me.
Oh, well, that would be a trick. I would hide behind this fake plant then.
Yeah.
But you get out, and physically, I'm going to say you look to be healthy, but that's a mistake, isn't it, to assume that about a veteran?
Yeah. I would say that's right. In fact, I had someone call me last week. And so with Wounded Heroes Fund, we know a lot of veterans, and we know a lot that are unemployed. And so I had a gentleman call me last week, and he just assumed that all disabled veterans were missing arms and missing legs.
Like the hero Wes Barrientos.
Yeah, like Wesley.
You can tell, obviously, that Wes gave a sacrifice for the nation.
The reality is there's only within, say, Kern County, which there are about 8,000 to 10,000 post 9/11 veterans in our county. There are only about 5 or 6 of those individuals out of that. So I mean, the percentage is very, very small. And so this gentleman called up and said, "Hey, I want a disabled veteran. He just has to be able to use one hand." And so I had to clarify for him what it meant to be a disabled veteran. A lot of the issues are, overwhelmingly are probably back issues. Jumping out of airplanes, ruck marching, doing all these things takes an incredible toll on your back, and the military is not a friendly environment for staying well.
Right. They're not going to ergonomically fit you with a special frame.
No. So
you're a soldier.
And then about 20% of the folks coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan have a debilitating, to some degree, form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
And so that's everything from not being able to drive because there's trash in the road and it reminds you of the potential for an IED in Iraq and Afghanistan, to not wanting to be in large crowds, to just not tolerating the civilian population because, quite frankly, it's a different culture than what we're used to in the military. And then every extreme in between that. But so by and large, so I have a disability rating by the VA's definition, I guess, or by whoever's definition. I am a disabled veteran. But it's a very small percentage. I have a 10% rating for a fall I took while I was at selection for the first time I went.
Wow.
And it just means that I'm not as physically together as I was when I went in the military.
Sure.
And so, but yeah, you would have a hard time just assessing visually that somebody is a disabled veteran. With the exception of, about a year ago, I was walking with a cane for a little while just because it hurt so bad. But now I'm great.
Sure.
And it comes and goes.
And the reason I bring that up is because folks need to know that not everybody has a visible disability like Wesley. So if you go to an event,
right,
and never judge a book by its cover, there are many invisible illnesses like depression or degenerative joint conditions, or the list is on and on. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
And that's a message we also want to get out to our veterans, is just because you weren't in an A team or didn't lose a limb doesn't mean you aren't entitled to help.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
doesn't mean they can't reach out to you, right?
Right. In fact, I dealt with a veteran this week, and he said he wouldn't call himself a veteran because he didn't deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan. And so, the reality is when you join the military, you sign, we've all heard the saying, you sign the check, made it payable to the U.S. government. They can do whatever they want with you to include your life, right?
But that's true.
It is true.
You don't have civil rights.
Right. But what you don't get to choose, so that's your choice. You choose that in this day and age. And so that's really what makes you the veteran. It's not where you go or who you go with.
You were willing.
Because the reality is that once you're in the military, it's all a good bit of it is just about timing, good luck and good timing. I tell you what, I feel horrible for the people that spent 20 years in the military in the 80s and 90s and then never got to do their job in a combat situation.
Right.
That wasn't their fault. There were things going on in the world, but the commands that they were part of, they were not selected or in the rotation for deployments, for combat deployments. It's no hit on them. Now, there are those that can find creative ways to get out of deployments out there, but that's not what we're talking about. So anybody that has served, and I think there's a day limit on that, maybe 180 days you have to have served consecutive to be considered a veteran. I believe, I could be wrong on that, but it's something like that. No, you're a veteran, and if your time in service left you worse off than when you went in,
for whatever reason,
then you're entitled to VA benefits, and you should go down to the Veteran Service Office. Ours here in Kern County is right off of Golden State Highway. In fact, you have two great places. You have the Veteran Service Office, and then right next door is the Vet Center, where they focus on nothing but counseling for veterans and their families that are readjusting.
And what do you do for folks?
So I was actually a counselor with the Vet Center for a couple of years, and then I was on the board of Wounded Heroes Fund, and we historically have provided financial assistance. So folks that have So last year we had a guy that was transitioning. He was being medically retired from the Army. Well, what they forgot to tell him was that from the day he actually separated, they had 60 days to run an audit on all his pay. So his military retirement was held back for a couple of months. Well, he didn't have a couple of months worth of money to get all his family down here to get into a place.
Most of us don't.
So we covered the difference.
Sure.
So we paid him in between when he got out and when, so we were able to sit down and assess how much he would need to live. And we've built at least one house on our own with donations from the community for a Marine Corps veteran that returned without missing both legs last year. And then this last fall, we still do the financial assistance, but we decided to, what has always been our goal is to really focus on the families. The reality is that 22 service members and veterans commit suicide every day. That's a hard number. That doesn't include
It's an
things like...
epidemic.
It is. I mean, that's a lot of folks. And then the divorce rate is much higher amongst veterans and military personnel than it is amongst civilians. So we decided as an organization, hey, we need to really focus in on this. Helping them with finances is great, but oftentimes the things that we were seeing come across our desk where they needed help for finances, it really had much more to do with their transition and the things they were going through. Maybe they were having trouble at home with their spouse, or they couldn't go get a job because they didn't want to. I'm thinking of one guy, he couldn't be around people, and so he was just calling in for sick all the time. So we instituted a whole program side where we're doing everything to create social networks for these veterans to be able to interact with each other, to interact with the community, physical exercise groups. We did a couples workshop in January. We're planning on doing a couples retreat for 10 or 11 couples in September. Once a year, we do a 1 week long backpacking trip. Wesley went on that backpacking trip with us last year through Joshua Tree. This year, we're going up into the Sierras. Rock climbing trips. Every Sunday, we do a hot yoga session at Warrior One Yoga Studios at 4 p.m. And veterans from all eras will come in, and it's a time where they can just kind of begin that physical process, because we all know that when our bodies are healthy, it's much easier for our minds to get or maintain good health.
Absolutely, it is. And
Yeah.
one thing that's emerging that you're saying to me is that Wounded Heroes, it's there not just to help the soldier or the Marine or the sailor or the coastie or the airman. It's there to help the whole family. And by gum, if your ego, and most men have one, is saying, "Oh, I don't need help," well, for Pete's sake, do it for your family.
Absolutely. We like to say that if you're a veteran and you're transitioning, we'll help.
And that's it.
And that's it. So anything from, we've built houses,
Yeah.
to if you need someone to go have a cup of coffee with because you just don't even know what the next step is. Well, that's why I get paid. I mean, that's why we take the funds to provide a salary. I'm available to any post 9/11 veteran in the county. We'll figure out a way to make it.
Hey, Joe, I appreciate you coming on the show. We are running out of time, but how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so 2 ways, www.thewoundedheroesfund.org.
Okay.
Or our office number is 661-328-8600. Can I put one plug out?
Yeah, please.
So May 14th, we have reserved the entire Rush Air Sports from 6:30. I think it's 6:30 to 8:30 in the evening. All post 9/11 veterans and their families are invited to come.
What about their friends?
2 hours. I guess it depends on how good a friend. If they're with you, if they're a good enough friend that you're going to pull them down to Rush Air Sports, we'll let them in. Just have a way to show that you're a veteran that served in that time.
Sure.
And we'd love to have you. We're even going to have some folks providing childcare for little ones.
What?
If they want, so that they can meet other veterans, meet other wives, meet other husbands, meet other just people in the community. It's a great, safe place, and it's that thing is pretty rad. I don't know
Oh
if you've
no,
been there.
it's I have seen a lot of pictures, and my kids are asking me to go, but they have some stuff that they've got to achieve first that has to do with cleaning their room. I won't bore you with those details, but his name is Joe Dullard. The organization is Wounded Heroes, and they will help you with any problem that you have. You heard him. Whether you need a house built or you just need someone to listen, they have the ears, the experience, and the knowledge to make life a little bit easier for you. So please check them out and follow up on that. We have coming up right now on the show 2 critical people at Bakersfield College who help our veterans succeed and change their lives through higher education. That's coming up next on Equity TV.